When it comes to counter trend trading, the last thing you want to do is call bottoms and call tops. These are career ending moves and it's gonna put you in a very difficult position in your trading. So in this video, I'm gonna cover exactly how to trade counter trend and when to trade counter trend, because if you do trade counter trend, it can give some really massive moves, and with higher time frame understanding, you can trade counter to what the session is telling you in order to try catch a big move. So in this video, I'm gonna cover exactly some tips on how to counter trend trade and what to look for when counter trend trading. So that being said, let's get straight into the video. Alright, so the first thing you guys need to understand is that there's a few types of counter trend trading. We have counter session trend, counter higher time frame trend, and also counter lower time frame trend. Alright, so these are the three different counter trend trading methods. I would not recommend doing counter higher time frame trend because that will be very, very risky, because essentially you're trying to call tops and trying to call bottoms, which is going to be very, very difficult to do. And I highly recommend not to do that one. But when you learn about counter session trend trading, that could be very, very beneficial and can allow you to continue the higher time frame trend without following what's happening in a session. And that can be very, very useful. So we're mainly going to focus, because I don't recommend going counter higher time frame trend, because higher time frame is key in all trading and you should not try to go against it. So in this video, I'm going to cover how to trade counter session trend and also how to trade counter lower time frame trend. As always guys, before we start the video, welcome to the channel. If you're new here, if you appreciate my content, I would also appreciate a subscribe. There's plenty of content on here that is going to be super useful towards your trading. If you could leave a like, if we could get this past 100 likes, I really do appreciate the support. Down below is links to my groups where you guys can join for free, and I send daily analysis. I send the links to join the live streams, which you can watch as well on top of these videos. And yeah, if you want to have a look, also check out my Instagram, posting content on there about trading, quick short things. That being said, all of that YouTube stuff out the way, let's get back into the video and concentrate on the important stuff. So first of all, let's cover counter session trend. So if you guys don't know already, you should be able to identify what is your session, bullish or bearish, based on the previous 4-hour and the previous daily candle closes. I do have video about session bias and mixed session bias in order to understand what makes most sense in the session. So if we go to the 4-hour candle and we scroll back to somewhere around here, let's have a look, right? So let's have a look here, when obviously we can see that we're kind of forming this bearish type of a formation here, right? So if we come back to this area here, we can see we found a high, we made a lower low, then we made a lower high, and you would expect price to continue down bearish. But actually on the higher time frame here, if you zoom out, we actually are in a range and we come back down to the bottom of the range here. So higher time frame is not yet bearish, even though lower time frame is bearish. So if you know we're coming to this area of the range, which is going to be somewhere in between here, you can expect there to be bounces from here to continue up. You don't know if it's going to reject here or not. That is not what you're trying to predict, but what you can see is that there's obviously an opportunity here to also look for buys, right? And that comes from your higher time frame analysis. So what you can see is that even though the daily candle closed bearish, when we have this support formed by this rejection candle and the next candle here is also closing bullish, now that you have two bullish candles closing from this zone, even though that this looks bearish, this gives you the idea that, look, I can start to take some buys, counter trend, to look for ways to retrace some of this move down and potentially reach the top of the range, right? And this is where in the session you can be looking for buys here in this situation, even though the market looks bearish in this posturing, right? So this is one way you can use counter trend, and you would go to lower time frames here, look for an entry essentially, and you can see essentially we closed above this range. You'd wait for some sort of pullback here to take buys towards the upside, and you can see we get this pullback here, and essentially once we create some sort of support like this, you can look for potential buys. So let's see if we break the high. High is still respected here. Until we break that high, we are not entered in the trade. So essentially, yeah, probably you would take it like this, right? This is a support that's being formed. Your stops would be a little bit wider because your idea is to eventually get up to possibly this resistance here or this support here, somewhere like this, right? and you would wait and hold that trade with the idea that, look, in your session, we have started to create bullish structure, right? Even though this is bearish and most people will be expecting for this to do that, you know that the 4 hour is at a crucial zone here, right? And you can counter trend what basically the mid time frames are saying in to continue the higher time frame idea from this zone, right? And essentially catch a bigger trade here. So if we continue playing, you can see what happens. All right, we got triggered, bit of drawdown we're holding, which is normal. And now we start to push into profit here. Again, back in drawdown, holding the trade with the higher time frame idea that we're counter trend trading here to try get to our take profit target, which essentially should be hit pretty soon, I should hope. And yeah, boom, then we're hit, right, to get up to these zones around somewhere in here, which is that resistance here, and eventually get to the top of the range. So you basically did not call the bottom here, but based on what you saw, it allowed you to counter trend trade here with the higher time frame analysis of what zones were coming from. So that's a very important way to counter trend trade. Another way to counter trend trade is what I see popular, which is on the lower time frames here. Now, if you can't even trade normally, if you can't even trade with the trend, don't even consider counter trend trading. And I'm going to clip this and put it in the beginning of the video because people have to hear this. But if you can't even trade with the trend, don't even try to counter trend trade because you're really going to waste your time here. But when it comes to counter trend trading on lower time frames, essentially what you have to do is you have to have a bias. And personally for me, I don't like to do it because you have to be quick and out. I rather trade with the trend and what makes sense in the session, because there's so many times when you'll be caught out in fake outs, you'll be caught out in wrong moves, or you'll only get a quick 10-15 pips if you're lucky, and it will continue the other direction. You have to use lower time frame and you'll get some wrong and get some right. So you have to take more trade frequency, and taking more trade frequency is gonna allow you to have more mistakes, and with more mistakes, and especially when you're using more risk, such as above a 4-figure amount, that's when it's not going to be a good idea to take multiple trades, because you don't have to, first of all. Second of all, you wouldn't want to because it's increasing a lot of stress and risk in the market, right? So I'm going to teach it anyways, just to give you guys some ideas and how to do it. But essentially what you would look for is, if we're looking on a move up like this, all right, let's go and find something a bit cleaner here. So to teach you lower time frame counter trend trading, I'll use gold for example here, because gold can be very, very volatile, where you can sometimes counter trend trade here, right? So for example, on the lower time frame, if we know, okay, fine, we've created bullish structure from here, but higher time frame is bearish, right? It's clearly bearish here, right? We can see that on 4-hour going down, but 4-hour closed bullish here. You can see that this 4-hour closed bullish, and this is a clear example here. So many people will be looking at this as a change of structure to continue buys towards the upside here. But there is a possibility for sells here continuing the lower time frame if we start to see resistance from this range, because essentially we're at the top of the range. So if we go down to 15-minute here, we can see how structure is bullish here. But if we start breaking down from this zone, we can take a counter trend trade to continue the higher time frame trend, which is what I like, right? This is what I like, and this is what I agree with, to take these type of trades. So essentially here we don't do anything. Again, we try to break up here. Nothing. But now when we start to break structure with this candle, is the first candle that broke structure, and then this is your confirmation. You can look for sells on this candle here, right? Oh, wrong way around. You can look for sells on this candle here with stop loss above here to target the lows of the range here. Even though this is bullish, but you can expect this to be, once you have the confirmation. Selling here on 1 minute and stuff like that is very, very risky. You can get caught on these pullbacks here. You can get caught on all small pullbacks, and if you're risking a lot of money, it's very, very risky here. But if you keep stop something like this and you look to take this move towards the downside, you can look to catch these downside moves to continue the move to the bottom of the range eventually, like this. And all of these pullbacks on lower time frames, you see these 15-minute pullbacks on lower time frame, these are also more opportunities to get into more shorts, right? So that is one way to counter trend. The one thing that I will say to end off this video, and I want to keep this video nice and simple, is I would not recommend trying to catch pullbacks. Like, the last thing you want to be doing is trying to take buys from here to continue price and then continue down. Now you're just buying and selling in a session, and you're doing something that is very, very wrong and very, very difficult. and I really don't recommend doing that. What's going to end up happening is that you guys are going to mess up your trading and completely confuse yourself. Always stick to the higher time frame bias, and there are times in sessions which, if you've been watching the live streams, you will see that sometimes in a mixed session there are scenarios where we can look for buys and look for sells, and we basically always take what makes sense on the higher time frame because structure is king. Even though 4-hour closed above here, we are at 4-hour resistance here, and we also rejected it, so we know, fine, okay, it made sense to continue up, but without support forming, with no support forming, closing back in the range, sells make sense. And this is what I mean, counter trend trading, when you know that the daily is closing bearish here, daily candles closing bearish, 4-hour candles mostly closing bearish, one candle closed bullish, that doesn't mean to take buys. And people who are trying to counter trend trade here and take buys to go to the upside because they see this zone and they see 4-hour close bullish, this is what I'm talking about. You get caught in the fake out. So follow the higher time frame, right? Follow the higher time frame, and then you won't get caught in these fake outs because you're not trying to basically catch the reversals and call tops and call bottoms, right? What you're basically doing is that you are following the higher time frame trend in order to be in the right direction of the market, which is very, very important. So with that being said, guys, I'm gonna wrap up this video here. I hope it's been useful, and I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, guys, take care, trade sharp, and until next time, peace.